Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Poetry 1, course code 403, lecture 12. In lecture 11 we discussed the story. We discussed some part of the text, and today we are going to complete this text. We discussed that the Red Cross Knight, he started off with a journey, and with him there was Lady Una, and we had long descriptions of different scenes. We had the description what the knight carried and who was with them. There was a dwarf with them, and there was a lamb also that was very white, and we had the description of scenes. Finally they reached a cave, and we had the description of the cave as well. In the cave they reached, they forgot their way, and they could not find the way out. They were stuck in the forest, in the thick of forest, and initially they had entered that cave in order to take shelter from the storm, from a heavy storm and rain. वहाँ से निकलने के लिए जब उन्होंने अपने रास्ता तलाश करना शुरू किया, तो वो एक ऐसी जगह पर पहुँच गए कि जहाँ पर उन्हें एक केव नज़र आया. उस केव में जब नाइट ने अंदर झांक कर देखा, तो वहाँ पर उसको एक ड्रैगन नज़र आया. Now this dragon was appeared very horrible, और इस कदर खौफनाक और वो huge monster था कि उसको देखकर ही जो है वो खौफ तारी हो जाता है. It was very huge, it has a long tail, और इसकी description भी बहुत अजीबोगरीब थी कि उसका half of it was like a serpent, it was lying on the ground, while the other half of it or the head of it was like a woman. And the knight had a long fight. It had to struggle a lot against that monster. सबसे पहले जो है वो monster ने जैसे ही उसे देखा तो उसको ऊपर अटैक करने की कोशिश की, but after seeing that sword in his hand, in the knight's hand, the monster was also fearful, was also afraid. तो उसकी वजह से the monster restrained itself from attacking. It was a good opportunity for the knight. He took the advantage of the situation, and he got hold of a part of the body of the monster and did not let it move. But that condition did not prevail for a very long time. The monster took hold of the knight with its long tail. So now the knight was caught in the shackles of the monster's tail. वो उसने अपनी जो टेल थी उसके बल, उसके गिर्द इस तरीके से लपेट दिए थे कि नाइट उसमें से नहीं निकल पा रहा था. वो अपने हाथों पैरों को बहुत एक बेसूद सी कोशिश कर रहा था अपने आप को छुड़ाने की, बट इट वाज ऑल इन वेन. उसका कोई फायदा नहीं हो रहा था उसको बिल्कुल. फाइनली ही गैदर्ड हिज करेज, एंड लेडी ऊना, शी ऑल्सो प्रूव्ड वेरी हेल्पफुल एट दिस पॉइंट कि उसने नाइट को जो है कहा कि तुम इसलिए नहीं यहाँ पर आए हो कि तुम मर जाओ इसके हाथों, तुम्हें कुछ करना होगा. रिमेंबर हु यू आर, उसको ये याद दिलाया कि वो कौन है और वहां पर क्या करने आया है. दिस स्टर्ड अप हिज करेज, जिससे उसकी करेज जो थी, उसका जो पूरा जो स्ट्रेंथ थी वो उसने गैदर अप की, एंड ही was able to free one of his hand from that shackle, and finally he took hold of the sword and cut some part of the monster's tail. With his hand he gripped the stomach of the monster very hard, and as a result the monster was forced to vomit out everything from his stomach. In this vomiting out, we noticed that there were different types of material in that vomit, in that material that the monster had vomited, that gauze. There were toads and frogs. Here comes the religious allegory also, that there were books, and there was the blood was as black as ink. So black ink, so everything relating to the monster, क्योंकि वो evil है और evil को symbolize कर रहा है, तो हर चीज़ black है. उसकी appearance, papers हैं वहाँ पर, list of papers हैं, books हैं, frogs and toads हैं, but they are all foul smelling, and these frogs and toads, they are eyeless, उनकी eyes नहीं हैं. ये सारे symbolize कर रहे हैं उस century के, उस वक्त के जो clergymen हैं, जो Catholic clergymen हैं, because Spencer was through his poetry we see that Spencer was a strong Protestant also, and he was writing against the Catholic Church, against the Roman Catholic Church. तो वो उस वक्त के इन फ्रॉग्स और टोड्स को अगर हम रिलीजियस एलिगरी में देखें तो फ्रॉग्स एंड टोड्स जो हैं वो उस वक्त के जो क्लर्जी मैन हैं who were blindly following things, who were blindly doing things without noticing their utility or without seeing their source, तो वो उन सबको रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है. Finally, the knight was able to slay the monster. He killed the monster, and with this victory, at this victory, the lady, she also greeted the knight, and they started their journey once again. They started all afresh. They had to walk a long way. They couldn't see anyone. They just kept on traveling for a very long distance. Towards the end of the day, they reached, when the sun had set, they reached, they saw an old man near them. The knight asked him that if he could tell them about any adventure, he could tell them anything around in the settings, that if there was any adventure or if any person who was cruel or a tyrant. The old man, now we had a vivid description of the old man. He appeared to be a holy person, as if he was very religious. उसके हाथ में तस्बीह है, उसके घर के साथ, घर जो है वो एक बहुत गोशा नशीनी के उसमें वो उसका एक हर्मिटेज है जहाँ पे वो उसने गोशा नशीनी इख्तियार की हुई है, और उसके साथ एक चर्च भी है, एक स्मॉल चैपल है जहाँ के वो अपनी ज़िंदगी गुजार रहा है. ओल्ड मैन ने एक गोशा नशीनी की ज़िंदगी इख्तियार की हुई है. उसके घर के बिल्कुल साथ उसने एक हर्मिटेज बनाया है जिसको जो कि लोगों से जो मटेरियलिस्टिक चीज़ें हैं उनसे बहुत दूर है, और उसके साथ ही एक स्मॉल चैपल भी है जहाँ पर वो अपनी इबादत करता है. उसकी अपीयरेंस, उसका गेटअप बिल्कुल ऐसे ही है जैसे कोई बहुत ज़्यादा रिलीजियस पर्सन है जिसको वर्ल्डली मैटर्स में, वर्ल्डली अफेयर्स में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, ना ही वो किसी चीज़ के बारे में जानता है. देन all these things added up to their belief in the old man. The old man told them that there is a man who is mischievous, who had destroyed everything on earth. He could tell about that man, and he lives at a very far off place. कि वो बहुत दूर रहता है और वो उसके बारे में उनको बता सकता है. तो नाइट ने इसके जवाब में कहा कि चूंकि उसने डिस्ट्रक्शन फैला रखी है दुनिया में, तो नाइटहुड के लिए ये एक बहुत शर्म का मुकाम है कि ऐसा इंसान दुनिया में मौजूद है जिसने डिस्ट्रक्शन की बुनियाद रखी हुई है. लेडी यूना थॉट दैट इट वाज नॉट फिट. लेडी यूना के ख्याल में ये उस वक्त बेहतर नहीं था कि वो उसकी तलाश में उस वक्त निकल जाता है. शी थॉट के बेहतर होगा कि वो वहाँ पर रुककर आराम कर लेते और दोबारा फ्रेश होकर वो अपना सफ़र शुरू करते. द ओल्ड मैन ऑल्सो टुक हर साइड, and he said that whatever the advice has been given to the knight by the lady, it is true, and they better take some rest before starting on another adventure. Now this old man took these three people to his home, and he talked to them for a while, and he was very good. He could make a very good speech about religious speech about the lives of saints and popes. वो उन सारी चीज़ों के बारे में बहुत अच्छे तरीके से बात कर सकता था. Now basically this old man represented hypocrisy, because right after this incident we come to know that this old man is not a religious or a pious person. He is a very wicked and cruel person who represented hypocrisy, जिसके डबल फेस्ड है, उसकी पर्सनालिटी, वो डबल पर्सनालिटी रखता है. उनके सामने अपेरेंटली वो नाउ दिस वॉज अनदर एनकाउंटर विद एन एनिमी. अब नाइट का इससे एनकाउंटर हुआ है, लेकिन पहला जो एनिमी था, देयर इज अ शार्प कंट्रास्ट कि जो पहला एनिमी था वो खुला दुश्मन था, उसके साथ वो लोग तैयार थे, उनको पता था कि यहाँ पर कोई खतरा हो सकता है, और वो खुला दुश्मन था. यहाँ पर उनको नहीं पता, और यहाँ पर जब वो पहुंचे हैं तो उन्होंने देखा है कि अच्छा एक ओल्ड मैन है जिसके पास वो रुक सकते हैं, और अभी एडवेंचर के लिए उन्होंने आगे जाना है. तो वो एक ऐसा छुपा हुआ दुश्मन है जो छुपकर वार करेगा, जो ऐसे तरीके से वार करेगा कि खुद सामने नहीं आएगा. Now what did the old man do? He talked to them, and after that they wanted to sleep because they were tired of the journey and of the fight they had with the monster also. So all these everybody went to sleep. The old man went to his study room. Now apparently it looked that he had gone there to offer his prayers, but when he went there, he sat among his magic books. He took some of the words and he made some verses, and through those verses he called up some of the spirits, and from those spirits he chose 2 falsest spirits, and he assigned task to these 2 spirits. He sent one of the spirit to the house of god of dreams, god of sleep, and the spirit went to the underworld. There is a complete description of the journey of the spirit that went on its voyage to the underworld, to the god of sleep. We finished the previous lecture with the arrival of the spirit, of the false spirit, in the house of the god of sleep. We came to know that there were 2 doors. When the spirit reached that place, there were guard dogs that were sitting, that were keeping a guard of the house, and there were 2 doors. One was a silver door, and the other a silver plated door, and the other was an ivory polished door. And the ivory door was supposed to bring forth the false dreams, and the silver plated door was supposed to bring the true dreams, pleasant dreams. So we will start our today's lecture, lecture 12, with the spirit near the god of sleep. That what happened after that, we'll start from that point. And more to lull him in his slumber soft, a trickling stream from high rock tumbling down, an ever drizzling rain upon the loft, mixed with a murmuring wind, much like the swan. Now we finished at the point when the spirit had reached the house of the god of sleep, and it was standing near it. Now it is the description that what type of sound was there, and in order to make him in order to make the god of sleep have a slumber, soft sleep, a tickling stream. There was a stream that was tickling from high rock, tumbling down. So water was continuously flowing down, and ever drizzling rain. So the rain was continuously dripping, continuously drizzling upon the loft, mixed with a murmuring wind. So it was mixed with the it all fell on the roof, and it was mixed with the noise of the wind also, much like the swan. So that type of sound was made. So this sound was basically arranged for the god of sleep to have sound sleep. Of swarming bees did cast him in a swan. So the sound was similar to that of the swarming bees. जैसे कि bees जो है वो murmuring करती रहती हैं, वो swarm करती रहती हैं, उसी तरीके की आवाज़ जो है वो उससे produce हो रही थी. No other noise. There was no other noise. So all this noise was basically it was melodious. It was fit to make him sleep, fit to make him go into the sound sleep. No other noise, nor people, troublous cries. So even when people were in suffering, in misery, in troubles, even their cries could not reach that place. And there was not only the people, there was no other type of noise even. As still are wont to annoy the walled town, might there be heard, but careless quiet lies, wrapped in eternal silence, far from enemies. So he was where he was sleeping, that he was sleeping in a walled town that had walls all around it, and there was nobody who could annoy him, and no sound of man could be heard there, and it was all far. It was in a state of silence, far from the enemies, far from every kind of disturbance. So no noise, no people, no towns. So it was all walled, that nobody could come into that, and it was far, having the eternal silence, far from the enemies of silence. The messenger approaching to him spake. So the messenger is a reference here to the spirit, the false spirit whom Archimago had sent to the god of sleep. So that messenger, that spirit, approaching him to speak, when it reached him, it spoke, but his vast words returned to him in vain. But the words returned to him without having any effect. So sound he slept. He was sleeping sound, that not mote him awake, that nothing would awake him. Then rudely he him thrust and pushed with pain. So he rudely strangled him. He tried to push him hard so that he could awake him. Whereat he began to stretch. So उसने बिल्कुल उसी तरीके का जेस्चर बनाया है जिस तरह के एक इंसान सो रहा हो, जब उसको नींद से बेदार करने की कोशिश की जाती है तो वो अपने जिस्म को जो है वो स्ट्रेच करना शुरू कर देते हैं, जैसे कि जब सोकर उठते हैं तो आप स्ट्रेच करते हैं. सो ही अगेन shook him so hard. So once he shook him hard, what happened? उसने तो उसको इसलिए जो जोड़ा था उसको इसलिए जोर से हिलाया था कि वो उठ जाए, लेकिन उसने अपने बॉडी को स्ट्रेच किया और दोबारा उसी पोजीशन में, स्लीपिंग पोजीशन में चला गया. बट ही अगेन उसने कहा कि इससे पहले कि ये सो जाए, क्योंकि उसने अपनी बॉडी को स्ट्रेच किया है, तो इट वॉज हाई टाइम फॉर हिम टू but he again shook him so hard that forced him to speak. He shook him so hard that intensity of strangling him, of pushing him hard, forced him to made him to speak, as one then in a dream whose drier brain here refers to the brain, because when you're sleeping, your brain is drier brain, basically does not have any ideas, so it shows it is the cause of less anxiety. As one then in a dream whose drier brain is lost with troubled sights and fancies weak, he mumbled soft but would not all his silence break. So again he tried for a second time. He tried to push him hard so that he could wake him up and he could convey the message that he had brought from Archimago. And but the condition, the way he spoke, it was like, how did he speak? As if somebody is in a dream, और वो उसी तरीके से senseless तरीके से बात करे, as if he does not have any idea. जिस तरह के कोई ख्वाब देख रहा हो और वो थोड़ा सा उसमें कोई troubled sights हो या कोई ऐसी fancies हो, कोई blur ideas उसको हो, कि उसमें वो उसने मम्बल किया, बहुत सॉफ्टली, बहुत आराम से कुछ उसने मम्बल किया है, बोला है, unclearly he had vague speech, but could not all his silence break. वो इतना मम्बल करने के बाद he was again asleep, so he did not break the silence that was there in the surroundings. So this is the condition that Archimago had sent that spirit to the god of sleep. He tried to push the god of sleep hard to wake him up, because it was all dark all around, and there was a kind of music that was caused by the dripping of the water drops and the wind and the mixture of the wind, and it fell. The music was produced when it fell on the roof. That music were arranged to give him sound sleep. He tried to push him hard to wake him up, but it was in vain. The god of sleep stretched its body and went to sleep again. He tried to hit him. He tried to push him for the second time. He mumbled as if he were in a dream and he had some fancy. He had some weak ideas. He was having some troubled sight. He was looking at those things and he went to sleep again. The spirit then began more boldly him to wake. So the spirit, after trying to make him get up twice, the spirit in a very bold manner, in a very brave manner, tried to wake him up. And what did it do? And threatened unto him the dreaded name. He took the name of Hecate. Hecate is the frightening goddess of lower world. So now this was the third time that he was going to wake the god of sleep up. What he did this time, he did not push him hard, he did not try to wake him up himself. He said something in his ear. And this was the trick that he adopted when he was trying to wake him up for the third time. So he took the name of, and he threatened the god of sleep in the name of Hecate. Hecate was the frightening goddess of lower world. Everybody was frightened of her name. Whereat he began to quake. So listening to her name, right after that he started trembling and lifting up his lumpish head with blame, half angry, asked him for what he came. Now he, after listening to the name of the goddess of lower world, he began to tremble. He lifted his head, he lifted up his heavy head, and very angrily he asked him. He started to, as if he was accusing him of disturbing his sleep. He asked him that what was the reason, what was the purpose of his coming there, why he had come. Hither, quoth he, me Archimago sent. Hither, after that, quoth he said that, me Archimago sent, I have been sent by Archimago, he that the stubborn spirits can wisely tame. He bids thee to him send for his intent a fit false dream that can delude the sleeper's scent. So he conveyed the message that he said that I have been sent here by Archimago the magician, and then he tells a little about Archimago, because so far we only know that he took some of the words. He's a magician, but since he was sitting in the middle of his magic books, and he took some words and he prepared a charm, and he called some of the spirits, and he sent one of the spirit to the god of sleep. But here in this line we come to know his true sense. He that the stubborn spirits can wisely tame. He is a very skillful magician who can very wisely tame, who can very excellently tame, because when you tame somebody, when you tame something, that means you are making the person or making the thing do as you want the thing to do. So Archimago is the one who tames the spirits, who very excellently, very wisely tames the spirits, the stubborn spirits, the spirits that are very hard to be tamed. He bids thee to him. He had asked you to send him for his purpose, for his intent is his purpose. And what was the purpose? He wanted to deceive the sleeping guests, the night, Lady Una and the dwarf. And his victim was the night, because he represented holiness. A fit false dream. So he had, Archimago had asked the god of sleep to send him a false dream, a fit false, a very false dream that can delude, that the sleepers scent, so that can deceive the sleepers, that can disturb the mind, that can disturb the sense of the sleepers. Here sleepers refers to the night, Lady Una and the dwarf. Sleepers could be anybody who is sleeping, but definitely as we know from the story, from the context, तो हमें पता है कि इसमें sleepers जो है वो उस कंपनी को रेफर कर रहा है जो कि रात उसके घर में गुजारने के लिए रुके हुए हैं. The god obeyed, that he followed as the way he was asked, because the god was asked to send a false dream, a very false dream that can disturb the sleeping minds. And calling forth straightway a diverse dream out of his prison dark, delivered it to him, and down did lay his heavy head devoid of careful cark, whose scenes all were straight, benumbed and stark. So the god followed. He did as he was requested, as he was asked to do. आर्चिमेगो ने जो ड्रीम स्पिरिट से कहा था लाने के लिए, उसने उसी तरीके से किया, उसने उन ऑर्डर्स को, उस काम को किया. एंड कॉलिंग फोर्थ स्ट्रेट वे, उसने डायरेक्टली एक डाइवर्स ड्रीम जो है, एक डिस्ट्रैक्टिंग ड्रीम जो है, वो अपने डार्क प्रेजेंस से. नाउ लुक एट इट, एवरीथिंग दैट हैज ईवल इन इट, ईवल में हमेशा डार्क कलर्स आया होंगे. ब्लैक कलर का जरूर, यहाँ पर भी अब जो उसका प्रिजन है उसका कलर क्या दिखाया गया है, डार्क, सिंस इट वॉज अ बैड ड्रीम. Delivered it to him. So the god of sleep delivered that dream to the spirit, and down did lay, and lied down, his heavy head devoid of careless cark. So he put down his heavy head, which did not have any care, which did not have any cracking cares, whose senses all were straight, benumbed and stark. So its senses, because his mind, it was all benumbed, it was all senseless, and it had completely lost all its senses. क्योंकि उसको इस कदर नींद आ रही थी कि वो बिल्कुल अपने सेंसेस में नहीं था कि वो क्या कर रहा है, क्या दे रहा है, क्या हुआ है. तो उसका माइंड एक तरह से, जिसे कहते हैं काम ना कर रहा होना, तो उसका माइंड काम नहीं कर रहा था उस वक्त के कि वो क्या कर रहा है. उसने उसको जो स्पिरिट ने उसे कहा उसने वो किया, और फौरन से अपना सर जो है रखा नीचे और सो गया दोबारा. ही बैक रिटर्निंग बाय द ivory door. Ivory door is the ivory door, as we discussed earlier also, कि दो तरह के दरवाजे थे. एक आइवरी था, आइवरी जो है वो हाथी दांत को कहते हैं, एक हाथी दांत का दरवाजा बना हुआ था, और दूसरा जो है वो सिल्वर प्लेटेड था. अब जो आइवरी डोर था वो फॉल्स ड्रीम्स के लिए था, इट वाज सपोज टू ब्रिंग फोर्थ फॉल्स ड्रीम्स, और जो सिल्वर प्लेटेड डोर था वो ट्रू ड्रीम्स के लिए था. क्योंकि आर्चिमेगो ने स्पिरिट को फॉल्स ड्रीम लाने के लिए भेजा था, इसलिए ये आइवरी डोर से अंदर गया था और आइवरी डोर से ही बाहर वापस आया था, क्योंकि ये फॉल्स ड्रीम लेने गया था. रिमाउंटेड अप एज लाइट एज चेयरफुल लार्क. सो ही स्टार्टेड कमिंग बैक as light here refers to the speed. It might refer to the joy of the lark, because there is the use of simile also. So lark is a bird, is a spring bird. It's very happy and active and fast. So the qualities have been how that spirit came back, वो किस तरह से वापस आया. It was as light, and light here not refers to the रोशनी को रेफर नहीं करता है, ये रेफर करता है उसकी स्पीड और उसके जॉयसनेस को, उसके एटीट्यूड को, कि वो इतना खुशी से और इतनी तेजी से उसने वहां से वापस आया है जैसे कि कोई लार्क हो, स्काई लार्क हो. एंड ऑन हिज लिटिल विंग्स द ड्रीम ही बोर, and he was carrying, the spirit was carrying on its little wings the dream that Archimago had asked the god of sleep to send for him. In haste unto the Lord, and he was in a great hurry. In haste is hurry, so he was in a great hurry to reach the Lord, where he him left afore. Afore is before, so where he had left his master, he hurriedly was going to his Lord, who all this while with charms and hidden arts had made a lady of that other sprite, and framed of liquid air her tender parts, so lively and so like in all men's sight, that weaker sense it could have roused quit. So what did the man do? What did Archimago do? He had spent one of the spirit to bring the dream from the house of the god of sleep, and who all this while, that during this time, with all his charms and with all his hidden arts, he had made a lady of the other spirit, because he had called two spirits, and he had sent one spirit to bring the false dream, and he had kept the other dream for some other work. And during that time, when the other spirit had gone to the god of sleep, he turned the second spirit into a lady of and framed of liquid air her tender parts. Liquid air here basically refers to something artificial, that he turned the other spirit into the figure of a lady. He made very tender and very elegant parts of it, so lively, and it looked so real, it looked so lifelike and so like in all men's sight that anybody who would see her, it was really like a lady. That weaker sense it could have ravished quite. So the any man who had the weaker sense would be lured, would be charmed, would be attracted by the sight of the lady. It was so attractive and charming that anybody could be attracted and lured and deceived by the figure, by the appearance of this lady. The maker's self, for all his wondrous wit, was nigh beguiled with so goodly sight. Her all in white he clad, and over it cast a black stole, most like to seem for Una fit. Now what happened? That even he made it so fit, it was such a wonderful creation that even the person who made it, he was also surprised at his wits, at his wonderful art, that he himself was deceived at such a good sight, at such a good scene. And what did she wear? He made her wear a white dress, and over it he threw a black stole, as if the kind of veil that Una was wearing, most like to seem for Una fit. So in appearance he made her in every way resemble a Lady Una. So अब उसने वो स्पिरिट को इस तरीके से फ्रेम किया है, इतना एलिगेंट, और बिल्कुल उसी फिगर में उसको बनाया है जिस तरह के लेडी ऊना हो, और उसके बाद उसको वाइट ड्रेस पहनाकर उसके ऊपर ब्लैक वेल दिया है, एक ब्लैक रॉब है जो शॉल है उसके ऊपर दी है, जिस तरह के लेडी ऊना ने जो है वो विम्पल पहना हुआ था. Now, when that false dream was brought to Archimago, he sent that dream to the night, to the elfin knight. Elfin is a knight who is here, it is a reference, elfins, as if the knight is elfin's son. So he asked the bad dream, that false dream, to go to the knight who is very modest and very pious person, very having a good character, where he slept, and he asked the false dream to go to the night where he was sleeping soundly without any thought of evil in his mind, and with false shoes abuse his fantasy, and it was asked to disturb the knight's mind through its false shows, to mislead him. Basically this false dream was going to disturb the knight's mind so that he would have that evil thinking in his mind. In short, as him schooled purely, in short as according to he taught him, and that new creature born without her due, full of the maker's guile and usage sly, he taught to imitate that lady true, who resemblance she did carry under fiend hue. Now, accordingly, he taught he taught her he taught her everything, the way Lady Una behaved. So that new creature who was made, who was artificially created, she was taught, she was made to learn all the ways of Lady Una, full of maker's guile. She was full of, even the maker was deceived at her appearance. With usage sly, he taught to imitate, and she was taught to imitate Lady Una, the lady true. Now true here refers to Lady Una, that she is the true lady, that the real lady was Lady Una, but this spirit was false Lady Una. So this spirit was asked to follow, to imitate, to model the true lady. True lady was Lady Una, whose resemblance she did carry under her feigned hue, that she resembled a lot this false spirit. It resembled in its appearance the way Archimago had dressed it, and Archimago had created it. It resembled in its appearance to the Lady Una, to the real Lady Una. Thus well instructed, that she had been given lots of instructions how to do. To their work they haste. Now both these spirits, they went to do their work in a very hurried manner. What they were supposed to do, one was the false Lady Una, and the other spirit with the false dream, with the falsest of the dream, to disturb the sleeping mind of the night. And coming where the night slumber lay, and the spirits, they reached the place where the night was sleeping. He was in a deep sleep. The one upon his hardy head him placed. So one placed itself, one of the spirit, that was a false dream, that carried a false dream. It placed on its head and made him dream of loves and lustful play. So he, since it was a false dream, since it was the falsest of the dreams that had been brought from the god of sleep, Morpheus, so that dream started disturbing the night, and the night was made to dream of love and lustful desires. तो उस ड्रीम ने उसको जो है वो डिस्टर्ब करना शुरू कर दिया, उसको ख्यालात जो है वो एक स्ट्रेंज जो डिजायर है उसके आना शुरू हो गए. दैट नाई हिज मैनली हार्ट डिड मेल्ट अवे, bathed in wanton bliss and wicked joy, then seemed him his lady by him lay, and to him plained how that false winged boy her chaste heart had subdued to learn dame pleasure's toy. Now what did it do? That nigh his manly heart did melt away. That his manly heart, manly is it refers to his worthy heart, that he was a very strong, a person of very strong character. So even his strong heart, it melt away, bathed in wanton bliss. Wanton is the joy of wastefulness, of that desire, the wicked joy. So he started having that. Then seemed him his lady. And how did it appear? That it seemed to him, he felt as if the lady was lying beside him, and to him plained and asked him how that false winged boy here is a reference to Cupid, the god of love, कि किस तरह से उसने जो है उसके लेडी ऊना को अपना विक्टिम बनाया है. नाउ दिस इज द ड्रीम दैट द नाइट इज हैविंग, कि किस तरीके से क्यूपिड ने, बिकॉज इनिशियली वी हैड द रेफरेंस टू क्यूपिड, कि क्यूपिड ने जो है वो नाइट को अपना निशाना बनाया है, उसको विक्टिम बनाकर उसको एरो थ्रो किया, एंड ही हैड दैट अर्ज, दैट डिजायर टू, दैट लव फॉर फाइट, फॉर स्ट्रेंथ एंड ब्रेवरी, उसको अपनी वो डिस्प्ले करने का, अपने जो कैरेक्टर की क्वालिटीज हैं उनको डिस्प्ले करने का एक एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी एक शौक है. Now this is the second reference here, कि the night is having the dream, कि उस क्यूपिड ने जो है वो उसको अपना निशाना बनाया लेडी ऊना को, एंड टू लर्न डेम प्लेजर्स टॉय, के द वे these are lying there, they are having, he started to have the scene of the amorous plays and all those and it appeared to him that she had fallen in love because of the hitting of the arrow of Cupid. And she herself of beauty, sovereign queen, fair Venus, seemed unto his bed to bring her, whom he waking evermore did ween to be the chastest flower that aye did spring on earthly bronze, the daughter of a king. Now, what happened? She herself of beauty, sovereign queen, that she was so beautiful that she herself was a queen of fair Venus. It seemed that it's not only she herself, it was fair Venus who had brought her to that bed, her whom he waking evermore. So what happened, that when he woke up, he looked at the scene, he thought, he had considered to be the chastest of all, because the knight had very high thinking about Lady Una. He was never involved in her. तो वो उसको बहुत चेस्ट, बहुत पायस समझता था कि वो अपने एक कैरेक्टर की बहुत स्ट्रांग लेडी है. दैट एडेड स्प्रिंग ऑन अर्थली ब्रांच, दैट वो यहाँ पर एक मेटाफोरिकल एक्सप्रेशन यूज कर रहा है उसके लिए कि वो एक चेस्ट फ्लावर की तरह से है. वो फ्लावर जिसको कभी किसी ने टच ना किया हो, उस फ्लावर की तरह है कि जो के जमीन पर खिला हो. द डॉटर ऑफ अ किंग, दैट शी बिलोंग टू अ रॉयल फैमिली, के सिंस शी वाज फ्रॉम, दिस हैज अंडरलाइंग सिग्निफिकेंस, के वो सिर्फ एक किंग की बेटी नहीं, एक बादशाह की बेटी नहीं है. बादशाह की बेटी होने के साथ साथ उसकी फिर और भी बहुत सारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, उसकी जो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर्स हैं वो बढ़ जाते हैं. क्योंकि बादशाह की बेटी है अगर, तो इसका मतलब है कि उसके जो रॉयल लाइनेज की वजह से उसमें एक डिग्निटी है, उसकी एक रिस्पेक्ट है, सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट है, और वो अपनी इज्जत से गिरा हुआ काम कभी नहीं करेगी. Now a loose lemon to vile service bound, and eke the graces seemed all to sing, Hemen, dancing all around, while freshest Flora her with yea garland crowned. So what happened? Now a loose lemon is a mistress who to vile service bound, who was bound on the evil service, and also on the grace to sing. Heman is the god of marriage. Dancing all around, it danced all around, and what it did that it brought a girlish crown of Flora, a fresh girlish crown of Flora for her. In this great passion of unwanted lust, or wanted fear of doing aught amiss, he started up, as seeming to mistrust some secret ill or hidden foe of his. Now after when he heard such words from Lady Una, when he was in such that when he was having that passion for that unusual desire, he started having that usual fear of his own, that there is something wrong. He started to doubt about the situation. He started to mistrust the situation, that there is something wrong, there is some danger, there is some enemy who is hidden near there, who is his enemy. Lo, there before his face his lady is. So he could see his lady lying beside him under black stole, hiding her baited hook. Baited hook, basically, baited hook literally means that it is a hook of a fishing rod with food to lure the fish, to capture fish. But here it is used for charms of the lady, that she was lying beside the knight with all her charms under that black stole. And as half blushing offered him to kiss. Now she was blushing and she offered him to kiss with gentle blandishment and lovely looks. So she had her own ways of offering that, and she had the gestures of love, and most like that virgin true, and it appeared to him as if she was virgin true. Here is a reference to Lady Una, because she is a true virgin, which for her knight him took, that who had taken him as her knight. So this false lady here, she was doing these mischievous acts while she was lying beside the knight. वो इस तरह की यहाँ पर गैर अखलाकी हरकतें कर रही थी, और जो उसकी अपीयरेंस थी वो लेडी ऊना की तरह लग रही थी. नाउ देयर इज अ शार्प कंट्रास्ट, क्योंकि ये फॉल्स लेडी है, उसकी सारी मिसचीवस एक्ट्स के बाद हमें फौरन से वर्जिन ट्रू और ट्रू लेडी और इस तरह के एक्सप्रेशंस आते हैं, बिकॉज लेडी ऊना वुड नेवर डू सच अ काइंड ऑफ थिंग, क्योंकि वो एक रॉयल ब्लड से है, वो एक ऐसी लाइनेज से, ऐसे एंसेस्ट्रल लाइनेज से है कि वो कभी भी इस तरह के काम नहीं करेगी. So most like that virgin true. So it was all like that. Lady Una. So virgin true is a reference to Lady Una, which for her knight him took. So she had who had taken the knight for her work. All clean dismayed to see so uncouth sight. So it was such a strange sight for the knight. It was such an uncomfortable scene for the knight, and half enraged at her shameless guise. Guise is the disguise that he was very angry to see this distressing situation. He thought have slain her in his fierce despite. He thought of killing the lady. He thought that because the scene appeared to him very shameless, he thought that what is this, how she is behaving. He thought that that this is the lady for whom he was going to do everything, and this is the lady for whom he was going to fight. So he wanted to kill her. He wanted to kill her in her anger of what she was doing. But hasty he tempering with sufferance wise. So he stopped himself. He restrained himself from doing what he had thought. He stayed his hand. He stopped himself and began himself advice. He began to consult his own advice. He began to think about the situation to prove his sense. So he tried to take help from his wisdom and tempt her feigned truth. And he was trying to find out the truth, the feigned truth. Now feigned is her conduct. He was trying to figure out that what was the reason that she was behaving in that particular manner. Wringing her hands in woman's piteous wise, though can she weep, to stir up gentle ruth, both for her noble blood and for her tender youth. Now the knight was trying to recover his senses, because at this strange scene that he had not expected, he thought that he has lost his senses, and he was trying to make believe of the scene that was there in front of him, and he was trying to figure out the truth of the scene. So wringing is the pressing. So she was pressing her hands in woman's piteous wise, though can she weep. So she started weeping in order to prove her, in order to convince the knight to stir up gentle ruth. She was trying to stir up, she was trying to make the knight believe that what she was saying, she was right, both for her noble blood, that whatever she was doing, it was necessary for her noble blood, and for her tender youth also, that she was young, she did not have that experience of life. So she tried to cover up the situation by crying that it was both for her, whatever she did, it was, and she tried to convince the knight. And said, sir, my lineage lord and my love. Lineage lord is the lord who is entitled to receive the service and who is entitled to receive the love. Shall I accuse the hidden cruel fate? So now she is addressing the knight, that who should I accuse now? She in order to convince the knight, she is accusing her own fate, and she is calling it cruel, that this is a fate that has caused me to do this, that has caused me to fall in love with you. and mighty causes wrought in heaven above. And not only the cruel fate, and even the powerful decisions that are made in the heaven, they are also, the way they are shaped in the heavens, they are also wrong. Or the blind God, that who should I, she is basically trying to persuade the night that who should she blame for this situation, that it was her cruel fate, it was the decision that was made in the heavens, and or the blind God who had, that doth me thus amate, the God who had thrown the arrow, and she became a victim of it, and she fell in love in that. For hoped love to win me certain hate, because in that it hoped to win love where she should have won hate. Yet thus perforce he bids me do or die. So it was by force. She says that it was not by her own wish that she was doing, that it had ordered her to do or to die. Die is my due. So this is my ultimate fate, that I'm going to meet death, yet rue my wretched state. So she is asking for sympathy. She is asking the night to feel pity for her situation, that she says that it is not of my fault, that I myself, I did not intentionally involve in all this situation. It was by chance, it was by the fate, by the cruel fate, or the blind God who had thrown that arrow, or the heavens who had taken the decisions in the sky. And all these things, they are responsible for bringing up this fate to me. And she says that now at this situation I am going to die. My ultimate destiny is death. If you don't save me, and I am in such a miserable condition, I am in such a plight, you whom my hard avenging destiny, that you are my hath made judge of my life or death indifferently, that as one like, as you like. She says that you are the judge of my life at this moment, that of my destiny, whether whatever you choose for me, whether you choose death for me, I'll die, or if you save my life, you will be the savior of my life. Your own dear sake forced me at first to leave my father's kingdom. There she stopped with tears. Now she says that it was for you, it was for your sake that I left my father's place. And I since she was crying, when she was saying all this, she was crying, she was in tears, her swollen heart, her speech seemed to bereave. So she was in such a grievous state. वो इस कदर sorrowful थी, इस कदर रो रही थी कि उससे बोला नहीं जा रहा था. And then again began, she started to speak once again. Now she was crying so bitterly. When she was saying that, she said that it was for you, it was for your sake that I left my father's kingdom, I left my father's place, and I started with you. And then she said that, and then my weaker years, cupid to fortune and frail worldly fears, that I became the victim of the misfortune, that those were the weaker years of my life, that I became the victim of the misfortune, and I was the weak one, so the worldly fears, they caught hold of me. Fly to your faith for succor and sure aid. Let me not die in languor and long tears. Why, dame, quoth he, what hath ye thus dismayed? What friars ye that were wont to comfort me afraid? What friars ye that were wont to comfort me afraid? So he says that have faith in yourself, and he said that by let me not die in languor and long tears. She says that I should not die. You are the one who could be my savior. You could be the one in whom I could have faith. You could save me from all this. Why, dame, he said that what hath he thus dismayed, that what has made you so sad. Now he started to inquire from that lady who appeared to him Lady Una, but she was false Lady Una. What phrase ye? What are you afraid of? What frightens you? That were want to comfort me afraid, that this is something distressing for me, that what has made you afraid? Love of yourself, she said, and dear constraint, lets me not sleep, but was the very night in secret anguish and unpitied plaint, whilst you in careless sleep are drowned quite. Now what she said that love of yourself, that I loved you in your love, and in the constraint that I had because of that love for you, I could not sleep and waste the very night. Here night is not very, since she was tired, so those feelings of the lady have been transferred to the night. So this is a figure of speech used here, which is known as a transferred epithet, because nights don't feel weary, they don't feel exhausted, because they don't have any feelings. So this is a person's feeling that have been transferred, so this is known as transferred epithet. In secret anguish and unpitied plaint. So what she was having, she found no pity, and she was having that secret desire, that secret urge to win him, whilst you in careless sleep are drowned quite. While on the other hand, she said that I was the one who was suffering for you in your love, but on the other hand, you were carelessly, you did not care for my feelings, and you were sleeping, you were drowned in sleep, you were having a sound sleep that made me uneasy. Her doubtful word made that redoubted night suspect her youth, yet since no untruth he knew. Her fawning love with foul disdainful spite he would not shun, but said, dear dame, I rue that for my sake unknown such grief unto you grew. Now what he said, when he heard all those words from the false Una, he said that all these those words, they appeared to him very doubtful, and he started doubting the lady. He started doubting her words. He suspected her truth. He became doubtful about the words that she was saying, about the truth of the words that she was saying. Yet since no untruth he knew, he could not find, he could not discover any any lie. So what he did, her fawning love with foul disdainful spite, he could see all that. He would not shun, so he would not give her a very indifferent or cold response, since he loved her in the sense that he respected her, because she had descended from a royal family. उसके दिल में एक रिस्पेक्ट थी उसके लिए, और उस रिस्पेक्ट की वजह से वो उसको किसी भी किस्म की उसके साथ रूड नहीं हो सकता था, उसके साथ उस तरह की बात नहीं कर सकता था कि वो उसको एकदम से जो है वो कुछ कह दे या उसको वहां से चले जाने के लिए कहे. And said, dear dame, I rue. He just said, after hearing all these things, and even when he was doubtful about her truth, doubtful about the position, the words, the things that she was saying, he only said, just because of that respect that he held for her in his heart, he said, dear dame, I rue. I feel pity for you, that for my sake unknown such grief unto you grew. He said that, I am very sorry, I am really sad for the condition that you, for my sake, for me, you you suffered so much and you had such a grief. Assure yourself, it fell not all to ground. And he asked her that be sure that it all will not be wasted, for all so dear as life is to my heart, that I give it regard and respect as I have care for my own life. I deem your love, I respect your love, and hold me to you bound. And I consider myself to be bound to you only. Nay, let vain fears procure your needless smart, where cause is none, but to your rest depart. So what he said, he assured her that there is nothing to be afraid of, there is nothing that should torture her mind now. And after telling her where cause is none, that there is no reason to be afraid of, to be frightened of the things, but to your rest depart, he asked her to go and to take rest, to go to her place and sleep again. Not all content. She was not content. She was not satisfied with all this. Yet seemed she appease her mournful plaints, beguiled of her art and fed with words that could not choose but please. So sliding softly forth, she turned as to her ease. So she was not at all satisfied at the whole thing that she heard. She was calm, yet she was not satisfied, but she was calmed down in her grief, and because of her this deceitful art, because of the words that she had been using to prove herself, that could not choose but please, those words that only pleased her. So sliding softly forth, she turned as to her ease. So she moved from that place. Long after lay he musing at her mood. So he kept on lying on his in his place, thinking about her mood, that what he started pondering over the situation. वो सारे सीन के बारे में सोचने लग गया कि ये क्या हुआ है, ये क्या situation थी, उसने क्या देखा है. Much grieved to think that gentle dame, so light here refers to the character, that कि वो इतने उसका character इतना खराब है कि जिस gentle dame, now the contradiction, that this gentle dame is so light of character, that he was sorrowful, he was sad, he was grievous on the situation. He was grievous to think that the lady was so light of character, she had such a light character, for whose defense he was to shed his blood, that he was ready to shed his blood for her. At last, dull weariness of former fight having rocked asleep his achsome spirit. Now, when the lady had left his chamber, he started thinking about the situation that had happened. He was disturbed by the mood of the false Lady Una, that a lady for whom he was ready to spend everything, to spend even his own life, and to spend his own to shed his own blood. She could be of such a light character, but he kept on lying in that for a very long time. He could not sleep, but finally, since he was tired, he was exhausted because of the previous fight that he had with the monster, he went to sleep. Since his body was very tired and exhausted, so he slept once again. That troublous dream gan freshly toss his brain. So once again there was the turn of that false dream once again, because earlier first there was the false dream, then the lady herself, that artificial lady who was made by Archimago, she was present there to deceive him, to beguile him. Now once again, when he had asked the lady to leave the place and to take rest, once again the false dream was there to disturb his mind. So that troublesome dream once again started to tease his mind, his bowers and his beds and ladies' dear delight. So what he started to see in that, he could see the beds and ladies' chambers, and when he saw his labor all in vain, with that misformed spirit he begged return again. So misformed spirit is the spirit that was transformed into lady by Archimago, so that false Lady Una. So when he saw that making the lady understand what he was saying was all lost labor, his hard work did not work at all, and it did not affect the lady, it did not convince her, he returned back again. So if we have a review of this lecture, we started today's lecture with the arrival of the second spirit into the house of god of sleep, Morpheus. The spirit tried to wake the god up. It tried twice, but it did not wake up. Finally, the spirit took the name of Hecate, the goddess of underworld. The god was at once awake. He gave him the dream. The spirit came to the Lord Archimago back with the false dream. Meanwhile, the magician, the old man, had converted the other spirit into a false Una, and he sent both of these to disturb the knight's mind. These the false spirit and the false dream, they both went to the knight's chamber where he was sleeping sound. The knight started disturbing him, and he started having that extraordinary lustful desire. He started having that. So all that scene, it made him awake, and because of that scene he was disturbed. But as soon as he woke up, he saw something very strange in front of him. He could see Lady Una in front of him, real Lady Una sitting in front of him, lying in front of him, and the way she behaved and the type of things she talked about, he was surprised to see the situation. And she said, since she was false Lady Una and she was there to lure him, to deceive him, so she said the type of things that were not according to the highest character of Lady Una, of the true Lady Una. Knight was all surprised by looking at such situation. He was उसको बहुत हैरानी हो रही थी कि ये क्या हो रहा है मेरे साथ, मैं क्या देख रहा हूँ, क्योंकि उससे पहले ख्वाब भी उसको उसी तरह से आया था, क्योंकि वो फॉल्स ड्रीम था. जैसे ही वो उठा, उसने जो लेडी ऊना ने उससे जो बातें शुरू की, वो भी उसी तरीके की बातें थी. वो बहुत उसने कहा कि मैं तुम्हारी खातिर जो है वो अपने बाप का महल छोड़ कर आई हूँ, मैंने सब कुछ छोड़ा है सिर्फ तुम्हारे लिए, मैंने इस कदर सफ़र किया है. नाउ दिस इज़ बिकॉज ऑफ द फेट और हेवन. तो अपने ऊपर उसने कुछ नहीं लिया. Now the knight was disturbed highly at all this situation. He could not believe whatever he saw it was really true, and he thought about his own senses कि क्या वो अपने senses में है, क्या उसकी thinking को क्या हो गया है, वो क्या देख रहा है, वो क्या सुन रहा है, उसको अपने ऊपर यकीन नहीं आ रहा था. And in the first instance, अब उसने पहली बार जब उसको देखा था तो उसका दिल चाह रहा था कि लेडी ऊना को मार दे, लेकिन उसने अपने आप को कंट्रोल किया कि नहीं, I respected her a lot since she has descended from a royal family. क्योंकि वो एक रॉयल फैमिली से डिसेंड करती है, तो इसलिए वो उसकी बहुत रिस्पेक्ट करता था. Finally, when after the false dream, when he asked the false Lady Una also to leave, once again the false dream started disturbing him, और वो भी उसको बहुत देर तक disturb करता रहा. Now after having all these things, the knight returned back once again. So this caused the separation of Lady Una. So book 1, Fairy Queen, book 1, Canto 1 finishes with the separation of Lady Una and the knight, and that was because of the attempts of the old man Archimago, who was a magician. He, with the help of two spirits, two falsest of the spirits, one was converted into false Lady Una and the other brought a false dream for the knight. Because of these efforts of the old man, he succeeded in separating truth from holiness. And since Lady Una was a source of great comfort, and she was the source of recollecting strength and power for the knight, so she was separated because of the efforts of the old man. He was able to do that. The magician was successful in his aims. He was able to accomplish his plans the way he wanted to do it. So this was the story. With this we finish, because in this selection, in this course, the book 1 and Canto 1, only book 1 and Canto 1 of Fairy Queen is included. In the next lecture we shall see that the different aspects from which we can analyze this text, whether what are the different perspectives that can be from which we can look at this text, the type of questions that can be there, the perspectives that can be discussed on. We will discuss that in the next lecture. Allah Hafiz.